Welcome back to the Shipmate YouTube channel. This week we're talking about an exciting topic. You know them, you love them, tariffs. So guys, if you've ever imported something into the US, you've probably paid what is known as a duty or a tariff. A tariff is something that is simply a tax collected on foreign goods as they enter the U.S. border. This is usually done by Customs and Border Patrol. The U.S., as well as other countries in the world, levy taxes on imports as a way to both raise funds and to protect trade. Generally speaking, countries have different trade agreements that put different levels of taxes on certain types of goods. For example, sometimes we might put a higher tariff on Chinese plastic, and they might tariff our chickens, right? And essentially, this is how trade works. So every year, the U.S. takes in billions and billions of dollars in additional income from taxes paid on imports. Now, why is this important? This is important because if you're going to be importing goods into the U.S., presumably to sell online or to start your own brand, you're going to have to pay tariffs. And it's really important to have a good customs broker. Usually this is the same thing as your freight broker, but sometimes, it's a separate thing. But you want to have a really good custom broker who understands, tariff codes and can make sure that you're paying the correct amount of taxes on those goods. So tariffs are really important because they affect the overall cost of your item. So let's say we're buying beanies, right? We're buying hats. And I go over to China, I negotiate with a Chinese factory. They're going to sell me hats at $1 a piece, right? When I bring those to the U.S., there might be a 10% tariff or duty on those hats. In order to pick those hats up from the port, I have to pay that tax to customs, meaning I'll have to pay an extra 10 cents per hat. This is going to affect how I sell these hats because now I have an extra cost associated with my purchase. And you can see how if you're importing containers, this can really add up. That container might have, let's say, 100,000 hats on it, right? An absurd number of hats. But $100,000 worth of hats will have $10,000 worth of additional tariffs on them. So you can see very quickly how your costs can quickly increase from 100,000 to 110,000 to sometimes even 125,000 depending on what you are importing. So this is a great way for governments to raise money. But the second purpose that we talked about earlier is protectionism, right? So if I have a U.S. factory and they're selling this hat, right, but they're selling it for $1.50. If we don't have a tariff on the dollar Chinese hats, I'm definitely going to buy that hat from China because it's the same hat and I'm going to save money. But by putting a larger tariff on that hat, I am more likely to try to source that hat domestically. Maybe I can find another factory that's doing it for $1.15. It's more convenient, there's less freight, and I'm willing to make that switch. So the US and other countries sometimes raise tariffs in order to protect themselves from, foreign countries coming in and taking over a certain market where, they might be better equipped to sell to the consumer. So you can see really quickly how this can lead to trade wars and, countries going back and forth and charging each other different tariffs on different things. So guys, when you think about tariffs, I really want you to think about a couple pros and a couple cons. The big pro is it raises money for our government, right? And it protects our businesses. But the big drawbacks is it stalls innovation, right? That U.S. factory now has no incentive to want to get better, faster, more automated, because it's more than happy just having the government leave that tariff in place and allow it to continue operating as it is. Another thing is there's no real evidence that these save as much jobs as they cost. There's all kinds of historic examples of this, but, you might save one or two tire plants or auto part plants or whatever here in the U.S., but, you're going to be passing on hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars of additional tariffs to the general population. So essentially, you have the U.S. taxpayer bailing out obsolete jobs. And then the third reason why this is, there's some gray area and I don't really like tariffs is it really hurts the consumer, right? Because if you were able to buy this hat for $1, you could sell it for less and the consumer would theoretically get a better deal. And generally speaking, tariffs are often passed to the end consumer because the importer has to get more, which means they need to charge the distributor more, which means the distributor has to charge the store or the marketplace more. And by the time it gets to you, that extra 10% has been marked up an extra 10% by countless people, and it's really increasing the cost of that good. So I think tariffs at times do a disservice to the consumer because you would have access to lower priced goods if it wasn't for tariffs. So guys, that's really what I have about tariffs as a real brief introduction, but we're going to be doing more stuff about customs and duties and, international shipping because that's something that's really interesting a lot of people. So it's going to be great to, keep up with these videos because we'll be doing a lot more. Thank you guys so much for watching. We're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. You guys are really helping us get there, and we need you to keep subscribing, keep sharing, keep telling your friends about it because we need to get there and we need your help. And we'll see you next week.